such a beautiful, beautiful investment strategy. But not only that, it's changed my life, from the relationships that I've met to, being able to invest and, do some of the things that, I wanted to do and continue on that, that path. So like James was saying, notes, it's one of those things, if you already invested in real estate, you can, take this information or look into notes. It's kind of like the elephant in the room. It's one of those things with Wall Street's big secret. And, nobody really heard about it until the mortgage crisis in 2008, 2009. And then what is the secondary markets? Well, we are the secondary markets, and the cat kind of got out of the bag. And then it opened up a whole nother investment opportunity for people like me and you that's on this call tonight. And, to further that, now it's still a small community of note investors because a lot of people are not teaching it. A lot of people hear about it, but they don't know where to start and stuff. And that's what kind of got me into wanting to share the information and the knowledge that I've gained over the last 7 years of investing exclusively in notes. So again, I want to thank you for your time and attention. I promise I will try not to bore you and be before you long. But what we're going to go over today is the 10 myths about investing in non-performing loans. And so when you hear me, it's going to be interchangeable. I say NPL or non-performing loan or mortgage note. They're all one and the same, but notes are categorized in several different ways. You got a non-performing note, a first position, second position, you got performing note, and you have seconds. I invest solely in non-performing first position notes that's secured by real estate, right? It's just to clear that up. So we're gonna go over the myths, and then I'm going to share with you a market that I really like, that I actively look to invest in, and why I like that market. It's one of the stable markets in the United States for multifamily, for single family, for notes, and so forth. And so at the end of that, I'll give you kind of the direction that I'm going in. So let's get started. I'm gonna share my screen and we'll get started here. So let's see.
You're up. We can see it.
You can see it? All right, good. So again, like I said, we're going to go over the 10 myths about investing in non-performing notes. And I came up with this list because I get these questions asked a lot. And so these are the kind of the things like when people first start hearing about notes, what they kind of ask, what they go through. And so as we get started, I kind of like to just clarify these things and give you a foundation or a building block. So like I said, in the next 30 minutes or so, we're going to clear up the myths surrounding non-performing loans, clarify some misconceptions surrounding this type of investment, and give you 10 common myths people have about investing in non-performing notes. Again, James did a wonderful job of introducing me. Just a little bit about me. Again, 25 years in law enforcement, lieutenant currently at the Baltimore Police Department. I authored 2 books, The Path of Self-Discovery and my ebook, The Bankers, For the Bankers, By the Bankers, and For the Bankers. I've been a licensed realtor with Long and Foster. How I got started in investing. I took a continuing education class, and it kind of blew me away. It's like, I'm showing all these families these houses, and I can make $3,000 commission, split that with my broker, and the investor is spending 10 hours doing the same thing. Well, not the same thing, but spending the less time and making $25,000, $30,000 on one deal. So I need to do something about that. But it wasn't until I went to that continuing education class that kind of started me on the path to investing. So again, like James said, I started my own coaching program, the Mortgage Note Blueprint, which, I actively teach investors how to invest in mortgage notes. And I'm a devoted husband, father, and grandfather, and I just love all things real estate. So my background there. So the Mortgage Note Blueprint, like I said, that's my coaching and teaching platform. But what we do is empowering, inspiring real estate investors through comprehensive education, practical guidance, and personalized coaching to cultivate financial acumen and build wealth through strategic property investments. So the first myth I want to clarify and go over with you is non-performing notes are too risky. I hear that a lot. Like, what is the risk in non-performing notes? The reality is, while there are risks involved with the proper due diligence and risk management strategies, investing in non-performing notes can be a really secure investment and very profitable venture. And here's how. So when you buy a mortgage note, we're buying the paper and you buy it at a discount. This is how you really secure your position. And this is like, it's actually one of the most secure investments if you do it right that I've found. Not to knock multifamily, not to knock single family, because I've done all of those. But if I buy a note at a discount, say at 50 cents on the dollar, and that property worth as is right now, say it's worth at 100,000, that's my potential profit margin, but I just secured my position even more because what it's worth now, not even talking after repair value or future tense of what it could be worth. Right now, if I bought it at 50 and it's worth 100, and I have all these different options, I just really secured my position. And so if you buy right and you know how to do your due diligence and what you're looking at, then it's really a secure investment. You really secure because that note is secured by that tangible asset, a piece of real estate. So myth two, you need a lot of money to invest. Well, that's relative, right? And so I hear that a lot. How much it costs to invest in notes, and how much can I get a deal for? That's usually the first thing a lot of people ask. Well, just like anything else in real estate, a number of us on this, call, this evening have invested in various different, niches and various different strategies. And so to get started, that's going to depend. Now, I can tell you in notes, while having more capital can offer more opportunities, there are ways to start in smaller investments and through partnerships. For instance, you can buy a partial. What is a partial? A partial is you buy a certain amount of payments and you're going to get, depending on what type of yield you're looking for, those payments over the period of time can then yield you 8%, 10% return on your investment, right? And so now you're buying not the whole note, not say 30 years worth of payments or 20 years of payment. I might only be buying 5 years, 60 payments, or 120 payments. And those payments coming in over time, over that time frame, yielded me an 8% return or a 10% return. And so your entry point to that positive passive income is a lot lower than me buying, a full note. Or you buy a discounted note, non-performing. And why is it non-performing? Could be various reasons, but it's distress. It's just like a house that has deferred maintenance and it needs a roof or it needs to be, updated and stuff. Those properties tend to be at a lesser price point because there's something wrong with it. It's not new, it's not ready to be moved in. So in the note space, when we buy non-performing, it's distressed in some kind of way. And typically the reason why it's distressed is because the borrower defaulted and they stopped paying. And so then you're able to get in at a lower price point. And so that'll be relative, and depending on what your price point, what buy box you decide to subscribe to, and that's going to be different from each and every one of us on this call. My buy box, just to give you some clarity, is I don't usually go for any property values under 75,000 and no more than 225 if I'm doing single family houses, which residential, which that's my wheelhouse. That's what I normally do. And I stay within that. And the reason being, anything under 75,000, if I wanted to get some outside capital, i.e. a hard money lender, they typically nationwide won't lend on anything under $75,000, right? So I found that out over the years. And so that's why I catered my buy box to those parameters. And typically $220,000 or below, usually a lot of first-time home buyers. And then, with interest rates being high, what they are now, a lot of first-time home buyers can qualify in that price range. Once you go over 225, you start shrinking as many people that can qualify, in my experience. So that's how I came up with my buy box and how I, go about that. Excuse me. So the next myth is that when you invest in non-performing loans, you always lead to foreclosure. It's not true. Actually, that's the last thing that I try to do. I try not to foreclose. Now, it's a part of the business. Sometimes it happens, but it's not always the possibility, depending on when you're evaluating your deals. I'm looking at, is it occupied? Is it vacant? And depending on what my exit is before I actually buy, when I go into negotiations for my particular deals, I'm already thinking about my exit before we get there, right? Because I want to know, how can I turn this deal over? Foreclosure would be the last option for me. So because I would look for either outcomes of doing a loan modification, because cash flow is king. I want that loan back performing. I get it re-performing again. Then I get those deposits, those checks coming back to Hip National Bank, my pocket, Hip National, you know. So they'll get back coming to me, right? If I do the loan modification. If the buyer, the borrower rather, has family members and they became, they had a financial hardship. Somebody could have died, somebody could have lost a job, which was real prevalent coming out of COVID, where the country was turned upside down. So you had a lot of, adversity for a lot of families. So you can offer a short sale, same as if a bank was doing a short sale. But when I buy the mortgage, I am the bank. So I can offer these different things as options to exit out of my deals. And also I can get a deed in lieu of foreclosure, which is beneficial to the borrower who don't have to go through a full foreclosure. It doesn't have to hit their credit. And some of the ways I like to explain that is, for traditional real estate, y'all have heard of cash for keys, where, that's similar to, not the same, but similar to what a deed in lieu can look like. You get them to sign the property back over to you. You go ahead and, then offer them assistance with moving so they don't, trash the place. And if you built a good rapport with them, you don't have to worry about that. But I might get them a U-Haul to help them move, as the sweeten the deal for, doing the deed in lieu. So again, foreclosure would be the last. I have all those different options that I just gave you in terms of working out my deal. So that's a myth. You don't go to foreclosure, with non-performing loans. You can, but it's not a guarantee that you have to. Investing in non-performing loans is a get-rich-fast scheme. Reality is, it can take time and effort to see some returns on non-performing loans. Success often requires patience, consistent long-term approach to your business. Now, I'm not saying that to scare you guys into saying, oh, I got to wait years for my return. No. But one of the hardest things when I'm teaching this or I'm sharing with people, about notes, actually, when somebody's never invested in real estate and they actually new to real estate, they actually grasp investing in non-performing notes faster than somebody who's invested in real estate traditionally, as in they may have did some flips or did some wholesale deals. Because as traditional real estate, because this is the hardest thing that it took me to get, when you buy the note, we automatically think I own a piece of property, I own the real estate, which no, that's not the case. There's steps in between that, but you control the piece of real estate. You own the paper that controls the real estate. It's a big difference. And that's usually the biggest concept for, people to get when they first get into, investing in notes. And because there's several steps that you have to do before, like those previously I mentioned, loan modification, short sale, deed in lieu, these other exit strategies take some time sometimes to, materialize. It might take you bought your deal. It might take you, 6 months, 3 months, 12 months to exit out. But again, if you buy right, the time value of money, you can realize that, and your yields are much higher because you're getting in at such a good discount. So it balances itself out and you're able to move, faster once you understand that. Because again, I want to turn my deals over as quick as possible. So a lot of times if I'm buying a deal, what I look for is I'm already talking to buyers who are looking for deals even before I have a deal. So I know what James is, buy boxes. I know what James likes to look. I know what Melanie likes to buy her deals is. And even if they're not note investors, you know what? Guess what? Sometimes I take properties back and now I have a REO. And you say, well, how do you have an REO? You're not the bank. But really, I am the bank. As a note investor, when I buy notes and I take properties back, I'm no different than Wells Fargo, Bank of America, any of these other M&T Bank, no different. My company's a lot smaller, but I'm able to do the same thing. So now I have a REO, and now I'm able to now sell that to James, go to a real estate investment group, go to Jane, go to Melanie, go to Jeffrey. Hey, I got a deal. And then I'm able to move those deals, right? And so these things take time. So it's not a get fast or get rich quick scheme. And it takes time and patience, but once you understand the power and what you have and what you can do, you're able to move systematically through these things to get these things accomplished in a timely manner. Right? The next myth, you need to be an expert to invest in non-performing loans. You don't need to be an expert. While some knowledge of real estate and investing is helpful, there are resources available to help beginners learn and succeed in this type of investment, i.e. the mortgage note blueprint. I teach it, but you don't have to be an expert in it. Also, you don't even have to want to, know it to my level or to my degree. You might want to know, I know people that come into notes who want it just so they can get properties at a discount. And then the only thing that I say to investors who want the properties and stuff, just remember, there's another person attached to that deal, right? I'm not in the business of just putting people out of their house to make a profit. The American dream is for people to have home ownership. And so I work with, people on the other side of that transaction. I want them to stay in their house. I want them to get back on track and make those payments again, because Hit National Bank, I want the cash flow. And so I want to make it a win-win, but, you don't have to have all the knowledge, and you don't even have to do it to my degree. But if you want to be able to get deals for your portfolio, I know investors that use non-performing notes as a way to get deals at a discount where they can do light rehabs, turn them into rentals, for whatever exit strategy that they're utilizing, they're able to use notes in a way to get that done, right? So I get this question a lot. You need a license to invest in non-performing notes. Reality is, some states require you to have a debt collector's license. That's what it's called. Most don't. If you invest in a state that do, you can partner with someone that has one to get the deal done. Maryland had, just a few years back, Maryland had required that you get a debt collector's license. I got my debt collector's license. And then right after I got my license, they changed the legislation that you didn't need one. But I actually had a investor out of Ohio who was buying a deal in Maryland, in Baltimore actually, who didn't have a debt collector's license. And I did a deal with him where they funded the deal, but I put it under my debt collector's license. They paid me a $10,000 fee for having a license, and I just facilitated the deal, signed the paperwork, they did everything, and things was transferred to them. So you can actually, if you like states that require a license, you can partner with a lot of realtors, have their debt collector's license, but you can find investors or somebody to do it. Or if you want to go through that and get your license, you can. But if unless you're going to be investing a whole lot in that market, I would say it's not worth to go ahead and get the license, if you're just doing a one-off deal, But so again, there's plenty of states you don't need it. There's some that you do. Me personally, I just go around the states that have it, unless it's just such a sweet deal, then the numbers make that much of a sense, then I will go ahead and attempt that, right? But most times I just stay with the states that you don't need them, Got a lot of options. It's 50 states, right? So it's only, I can't remember the number. Some of them just came on, but it's only a handful. I think it ain't more than 12. It might even be less than 12 that actually require you to have a license. The next myth with non-performing notes are hard to find. In reality, there are various sources to find non-performing notes, including banks, hedge funds, online platforms, and note brokers. Not really hard to find if you know where to look, But I will say this. In my business now, I don't go looking for deals. I remember me and James had a conversation, the other day, and I said, remember the days when we used to hang bandit signs out, and you're like, you waiting for a phone call, and you doing all these things to get deals. And one of the things that I love about the note space is once you start networking and getting on bias lists from different hedge funds, different note sellers, LinkedIn is where I network every day with, potential note investors, either buyers, sellers, and people start sending you deals. Even when I'm not even looking for a deal yet, I'm on people's buyers list every quarter. I might have a hedge fund send out, a deal. You sign a non-disclosure. And so deals come for you. So I don't work hard to find my deals. And that's the beauty of it. They tend to, come to you once you put yourself out there. Hey, I'm a buyer, I'm looking, this is what I do. And once you perform and buy a deal from somebody, one of my students that came through my mentor program, before the program, they graduated, they finished in May. They got their first deal. They closed their first deal. I want to say it was April, right before the ending. And and I told them this would happen, and the light bulb went off. They bought their first deal from a source that I didn't even provide for them. I just told them where to find these sources, and by them learning how to talk and network with people, they actually closed the deal. And that particular, originator of the notes, that fund, they said, well, hey, we know you perform. Can we send you deals every 3 months? And now they on a buyers list. And as a new note investor, that's huge, not having to look for your deals. And they sending them out deals periodically. And all they do is, hey, look, see if something they like. They know what their budget is, how much capital they have to deploy, and they on their way. So literally in a short period of time, that's huge to have, a hedge fund already sending you, deals like that. You know, it took me some time before I got, comfortable. And like I said, I shortcut that. I speed up your learning curve, but it took me some time to get established like that. One, I was a little gun shy, with talking to people on the phone like that. That was one of my fears. I had to get over, talking to people like that. And I worked hard, you know, with that. It's funny, as a police officer, I would talk to criminals, do investigations, do all this stuff, but I hated negotiations and I hated talking to people in the blind I didn't know. I used to get so much anxiety, but I worked through that, and so it's my process took a little longer, and so now I'm able to help people, bridge that gap and get through that. You come through my program, I'm gonna make you get on that phone. You got to make 15 phone calls a week anyway as a homework assignment, and talk to people. That's the only way I got over it. So the next myth is no investing is illegal. Because Bank of America, Wells Fargo, these big companies, people think that they the only ones that can invest that way. And they think if me, you, because we're everyday common people to them, or your company is not, in their eyes as big, they think, oh, you can't do that, it's illegal. Well, note investing is very legal. Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, the US government is the #1 note seller, selling billions of inventory to hedge funds on Wall Street every quarter. Literally every 3 or 4 months, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac sends billions of dollars to Wall Street, and then Wall Street buy these deals, these hedge funds like Blackstone and all these big hedge funds. And what they do is they break them down into smaller pools, smaller tranches, smaller portfolios to release to the secondary markets, to people like me and you. And that's why it's very important that, if you're going to be in this space, to build those relationships so you can start, getting access to these billions of dollars of inventory that's out here. The goal would be to be able to pull resources together. My 35-foot view is to be able to build a note nation, and where we could pull resources together to where we can go and take down, a big portfolio like that. And say, everybody on this call, we took down a $20 million portfolio or a $50 billion portfolio, and it's 200 deals across the country. We like, all right, Jane, here's 20 for you. James, here's 20 for you. Here's, and we break these deals down, and you got them at a discount. But that's big view. But the possibilities of being able to liquidate and pull resources together, it's a great thing. So note investing is definitely not illegal. Our government is the #1 producer and seller. So is it difficult to make a profit from non-performing loans? Well, actually, I say you got to work real hard to not make a profit in non-performing loans, because if you buy at a discount and you know your due diligence and you realize what your profit margin, your spread is on the buy, you have to really work hard not to make a profit. And if you understand what your exit strategy is. So I primarily use 4 exit strategies. flip the note, deed in lieu, get it back reperforming, or foreclose. Those are my four primary my exit strategies. When I first buy a deal, I initially, like I said previously, I already have James and Jane and Melanie, people that I've been talking to who are looking for deals. So when I'm looking at a deal, I already have in my mind who I could potentially flip the deal to, right? Who's already actively looking. So if I see on this portfolio, hey, it's in, Charlotte, North Carolina, and I know Jeff likes to invest in North Carolina, and I've been talking to him. Well, Jeff is the first person I go to before I even really close on this deal yet. You know what I mean? And I might even be able to get sexy on the deal, and I say get sexy because that's when I'll wholesale it to him and don't even put any of my capital up. But that's another, advanced strategy that you can do, So once you know that and understand that, and you can control both sides of the relationship, then now I can be with the seller negotiating this deal for in Charlotte. I already have my potential buyer lined up because I know Jeff is looking in Charlotte or in the North Carolina area. And so then I'm saying, if I built a relationship with this seller and now I know I can get this deal for 30,000, but then I know, Jeff is looking for a deal and I can, get Jeff interested into this deal for 40,000, then I could make 10,000 on it. And then I don't even have to put up my capital to do it. Or I could put up my capital and just turn around and flip it to him right away if I had the capital. Either way works, but it's just understanding what your options are in that particular scenario, right? So again, because you're getting it at a discount, you're able to move. And the beautiful thing about notes is when you close on a property, either wholesale, 30 days, 45 days, or if you buy a piece of real estate, it takes you, some time, 30, 45 days. The stars and the moon got to line up for you to close a deal in 7 days. I used to hear people say, oh, cash deal, we close in 7 days. In all of my years in investing in real estate, before I got into notes, literally the fastest and best deal that I ever closed on was like 18 days. And it was supposed to have been a cash deal and done in 7. And with title companies and all that, it's just too many people, too many things you got to do. There's no way we got it done. Now, I'm sure some people have been able to, but the stars and moon has to line up. I mean, everything has to line up perfectly to get that done. Beautiful thing about notes and the speed of which notes is I can buy a deal today and I could turn it around and flip that deal to James in 48 hours. And I don't have no closing costs and I don't have have to do nothing with title. And so I'm able to turn deals over a lot faster than 48 to 72 hours, So that's a good thing. Investing in non-performing loans is unethical. Reality, no, it's not. I will say this, knowledge is power, and what you do with that has a lot to do with this myth. I sleep good at night because I know I help people, and doing business with me does not hurt anyone. And so the reason why I say is because a lot of people think, there's sharks out there, Wall Street, predatory lending and things of those natures. When you're actually in the position as the bank and being in first position, you really have the ability to really foreclose and really put people out of your house, right? You can really be predatory, I'm saying that wrong, tongue-tied, but being a predator in that sense. And if you don't have a moral compass and if you don't generally care, then you can do some damage. You can hurt somebody, right? Because if you bought the deal at a discount, somebody's staying there, and if you're looking at strictly numbers and saying, oh, I can profit this, I want this, and this is what I want out of it, and not thinking about who's on the other side of that transaction, then that's when I say it becomes an ethics thing, unethical, because how you sleep at night knowing you're going to put a family out of their house when you could potentially work, with them, help get them on track, to help, better the situation. Because a lot of times when foreclosures happen and people get into foreclosures, what happens is once they get behind a certain point, the big banks will stop talking to them. They just take your file and they move it over here to another pile. And it's like you got to come with all the money that's owed and the legal fees and everything that's owed on top of that to make that current, or they're done with you until they sell that off. And so a lot of times I've had people in my deal was like, oh, I've been wanting to pay, but I didn't know who I could pay to anyway. Wouldn't talk to me. All right, you can pay me. Let's set you up for Hip National Bank. Or let's get you set up, right? Let's see if we can, work. You need to do a loan modification. Let's see if we can, work out your situation when we get you back performing, and then I can get that loan back reperforming. And the beautiful thing about reperforming loans, you can sell that at 80 to 90% of the value of that property, because these deals are 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years. It's a long time on a mortgage. And this is one of the advantages of investing in notes versus investing in having a property and being a landlord. Usually, nothing wrong with it. Usually, it's short term, a year. You might get somebody in there for a couple of years, or they renew every year. But once they leave, you got to get it back rent ready and stuff. I know some of y'all have heard me say this, the 4 T's: tenants, toilets, trash, and termites. As a note investor, I really don't deal with that, right? Because if I have a borrower and I own a note and they're paying me every month, guess what? The water heater go up, the sink start leaking, or the roof start leaking or anything like that. I don't have to do those repairs. The borrower still have to do those repairs, and they still have to pay me come the first of every month. It's the best position to be in. You don't have that overhead. So back to the unethical and ethical part. That's why I sleep good at night, because I do my best to work with people and help and make a win-win. Now, foreclosures do happen. Sometimes you have to, but it's in a situation where I've exhausted all my means in terms of trying to help that particular, borrower in that situation. And then if I can't, then we go to the next, the next step, the next phase. So those are the 10 main myths. So this is how people could go about working with me, or if you ever wanted to speak to me or whatever, you can always reach me at www.talktorenard.com, and my calendar will pop up and you can set up a call. If it's not about notes, or if it's just to, speak in general about real estate, if I can help and be a resource to you, I definitely will. I want to share one of the areas that I particularly like, and I'll tell you some key points on why I like that area. Now, this is where I'm gonna mess up at. See, this is why I'm not techie, because let's see here. James, you're gonna have to help me here. How do I get, this is terrible. This always get me. I want to stop sharing this, but for some reason, my window went on. Don't nobody laugh out there in cyber world that, it's not that techie here, because I want to get back. I wanted to stop sharing my screen, but it kind of disappeared on me.
What are you trying to do? Share your screen or unshare your screen?
Well, I want to unshare it and then share it again, but now I just got the little window right here. My whole thing disappeared on me, and I don't know where it's at.
Sometimes if you take your cursor and move it to either towards the bottom, it'll pop up, the bar will pop up, or up towards the top and the bar will pop up.
It's just got like a little thumbnail. And the switch in between.
Can we stop sharing his screen for him?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Let's see.
And I could see all of y'all. There you go. So somebody just did that.
I stopped sharing your screen there for you.
Okay. Thank you there. I needed that assistance. All right. So now I'm gonna share. So let me see if I can go back to it. Okay, you got to stop sharing yours so I can share, or I could just, talk, the either or. Okay, let me see. So one of the markets that I like, and it's for various reasons, not just notes. Can y'all see my screen here?
Yes.
Yep, we can see it.
Yep, South Carolina. And so South Carolina real estate is really impressive. So I've done a few deals in South Carolina. It's a stable community, and it has a lot to offer. It's a good retirement, state. It's retirement friendly. It has a lot of attractions, so historic economic stability and warm, welcoming community spirit that seems to infuse every town and city within its borders. The state's real estate market has become a reflection of the resilience and dynamic growth of its people and their communities. South Carolina is on the rise, with real estate values appreciating, and a testament to the state's enduring appeal and robust economic health. So, like I said, South Carolina, I've done some note deals there, but these are just some of the reasons why, but if you are looking for, I don't want to say it's an emerging market, it's a stable market. It's one of those markets that's, has a lot of attraction, like I said, a lot of growth, and it's retirement friendly. So you don't usually have an issue with rentals. You don't have an issue with, and it has a lot of multifamily in terms of mobile home parks. This community that we're in and that we are part of, we love mobile home parks, right? We love, that multifamily, and South Carolina have those to offer. And it's a stable, like I said, a stable market. So that's one of my go-to. I always look to North Carolina, not North Carolina and South Carolina, but South Carolina a lot. I've done the deal. My last deal was in Orangeburg, South Carolina. Spartansburg's a good, community, good retirement community. And again, multifamily for, mobile home parks is a good, area for that as well. So that's one of the markets that I look to. I wanted to share that with you because I always try to find something in South Carolina, but this article has, a few other, highlights for it, but I wanted to share that. And that's one of my go-to. So a lot of times when I speak, I try to give what I'm looking at, what I'm doing and stuff, in terms of that, So anybody got any questions? I don't know, James, do we have time, for a question or two? If anybody wanted to ask, I don't know what our time look.
No, we're good.
Too bad on time.
No, you did awesome. So yeah, if we have a small group, so if you'd like to just unmute and ask a question, feel free to do so. Or if you don't want to do that, you can put it in chat, or you can send it directly to me. Whatever you're comfortable with is fine. It's interesting you talked about South Carolina. I talked to somebody in South Carolina today.
Really?
Like
Nice.
6 hours away. I'm trying to think. It's on the water. Where was it? She told me. Not Myrtle Beach is in North Carolina or South Carolina?
No, South Carolina.
South Carolina. Maybe it was Myrtle Beach. I know she was on the water. So
actually, so my cousin, originally I'm from New York, here in Maryland, but my cousin she decided to have a birthday weekend July 26th in Myrtle Beach, around that area, because her father gifted her, I think, like 10 acres, and she's going to retire and build a house down there. So I'm going down there next weekend, for her birthday weekend, but I'm going to look at properties too. I'm about to scout some properties in some areas on there, because I told you I like South Carolina, and it just helps to line up, right? I'm going there for family, and I'm going to go driving around, look at some mobile home parks, and looking at, some communities and some areas, because like I said, I really like South Carolina. And so I'm going to be around the Myrtle Beach area and see what's, get to put some boots on the ground and see what the area is looking like, just inadvertently,
Maybe she wants to build a small mobile home park on 9 of her 10 acres.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask her, we'll see how much of those 10 acres she's gonna use. She's definitely gonna build a house down there. I was like, you got a little bit of land. I'm gonna go look at her land and stuff and see.
So I guess while we're waiting for questions, or please jump in. How does it work with taxes on notes? Is it considered just regular earned income? How does that work?
So depending on how your portfolio is set up, right? And so your tax professional help you out with it. Now, if you got passive income, if I had 20 notes performing and they're paying me monthly, then of course that income is earned, to come in, and I would have to account for taxes. If I'm turning my deals over and I'm getting 10,000, 20,000 on this deal, whatever, I have to account for that income as well. So it's still taxable income in your business, but now the difference is when those, if you got passive income coming in from your notes performing, you don't get the depreciation, where you would get with a home, right? You know, that you get to depreciate and write off. That's the one advantage that has over having a note, right? You know what I mean? You have to find other ways to write off things for your taxes for your business because you don't get that depreciation unless I was to take the house back and then, you know, sell it, do it the other way. But if I just have the note, get them performing, then I don't have that depreciation. But the tax professional work that out. But the longer the short of it, you do get to, you have to pay income on that, taxes on that income.
Okay, so what I've heard, and obviously you're the expert, so you would know better, but can people buy notes in their self-directed IRA?
Yes, most people do, especially investors who are not really like so I don't want to say novice or nothing like that. So investors, a lot of people who like invest when they want to do 1 or 2 deals and they're not looking to do like this as an entrepreneur, as an investor that continuously invests. You know, they might heard you speak, me speak, and say, hey, I want to buy a note, I want some passive income, and they have some money in the IRA and they'll buy, a couple out of the IRA and then, return that money or get that money back into the IRA.
Okay. So I'm sure, I mean, there might be even some people on this call and stuff like that that do have IRAs. And number one, maybe you're not familiar with self-directed IRAs. And if you're not, reach out to one of us. We can obviously, connect you with a reputable IRA company. And then I think Roth IRAs, I guess if you invested in notes with a Roth IRA at the end of time when you're ready to cash out or whatever it is, it's all tax-free, right?
Now that I'm not 100% on, I will have to get clarification.
Okay.
Now all my investing hasn't been out of IRA. It was either out of my own, well, your IRA is your capital too, but I didn't use that vehicle. It was either my capital or I've had, joint ventures with investors in their deals. So I can't really speak too much on the Roth IRA and how that would work.
Okay, maybe we'll get an expert on about Roth
Yeah.
IRAs.
Yeah, and investing out of IRAs and stuff. Yeah, because a
Yeah,
lot of
Nicole,
people do.
right? Nicole's the expert there.
Yeah, and people actually, lend money out of the IRAs for deals and stuff like that. So it's a good vehicle, to use. I
Right.
just haven't utilized it and used it on.
Right.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think with the Roth, it's tax going in at the lower amount, and then when you pull it out, or when your heirs and family or whatever, when they pull it out, it's at that amount, so you're not paying additional taxes. So it goes in as $100, and when it comes out as 100,000, you're not taxed on the 100,000.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
That's the beauty of the Roth.
yeah.
And
I
you
need
should
to.
get one of those while you're working, because you have to have capital going in, I
Right.
believe, to start one.
Nice. Yeah, I definitely need to look into more of that. Not too familiar with the IRAs as much.
Mike says if you're in, I guess, the Carolinas and you come across a really bad mobile home park, to please let them know.
All right, definitely.
Uh,
I'm going searching for them.
I'm not sure if that means like a really bad deal or just one that is a little bit more like a trailer park versus a regular park. I'm guessing just one that needs a lot of work.
One that looks a little unkept.
Yes,
There you
exactly.
go. One of those looks a little unkept, and
Right.
that grass done grew a little high. Look like might need a little TLC.
Right.
Okay,
You can
yeah.
tell. So when you drive into a trailer park versus a mobile home community, when you drive into a trailer park, it's really, really, really rough, and it's a little hard to kind of turn them around. But if it's just a standard mobile home park or whatever it is, those are very, very profitable.
Yeah, I definitely want to diversify. I definitely want to buy some. Yeah. I want to my goal is to diversify my portfolio, note some multifamily, to diversify and have, several things that's cash flowing,
Right.
you know.
Absolutely. No, that's great. Mike is saying Peter Thiel used a Roth IRA to build up $5 billion. So, wow, $5 billion, man, he's catching up to you.
Hey, look, speak all of that into existence. Look, I'm here for it.
Absolutely.
I'm raising my hand. I receive all of that. Let's go. I receive all of that. Yep.
Uh, so we got a few minutes left here. Anybody questions? Jane, Sharon, Joanna, Freddie, Emma?
I think somebody just asked a question.
I was just wondering if you've ever had a negative experience with, I don't know, purchasing notes.
So I haven't had not purchasing one, but people ask me, well, have you ever lost on a note deal? And I've lost on one early on when I first started. It was in Peoria, Illinois, and it was a self-correcting error. It was actually my fault, right? And so that's why I say self-correcting, because once you learn it, but it was a $5,000 mistake versus it being a $50,000 or $100,000 mistake. And so what happened is I bought a deal early on, and I didn't record that assignment of mortgage. So one of the things you do when you first buy your note is you record it. And so that way it goes on record that, you are now the owner of the note, and everything's recorded. And so now you will get all the correspondence for the taxes and so forth, for anything dealing with it. Well, in my early development, I'm looking, and one of the things, in the note space or just in real estate investing, sometimes you got to go from A to C or from C to J. You don't do things in order, right? Sometimes you got to, I got to fix this problem, or I got to go over here, I got to do this and so forth. Well, I didn't record my assignment of mortgage, right away, because I was like, all right, let me just flip this to another investor. So it don't make no sense for me to record it now. Let me go ahead and do this. And again, before I started building these relationships, knowing that, say, Emma was looking in South Carolina, say Jeff was looking in Virginia, and I didn't have these buyers already looking and stuff. And so it's taking me longer to, figure that out. And so I didn't record it. And so what happened, I wasn't getting the correspondence from the county. Well, it was going to the previous, lien holder that had it before me. And then it's not their responsibility for it to mail and stuff to me. And so what happened, eminent domain, they had plans to build a roadway right through where my house was that I owned a note to. And so I missed all that communication, and they was willing to pay me to, before they just took the house in eminent domain. Well, when I wasn't responding, they wasn't responding, they knocked the house down, leveled it, and made a roadway for the county. And so I had a $5,000 piece of paper, and so that's what else. So good thing I only paid $5,000 for that note. And so the moral of that story was I needed to record that as soon as possible, because like I said, if I'm not flipping that right away to another investor, if I don't have them lined up, then you should record that as soon as possible so you can get all the correspondence and that could go on record. So that was the only deal that I technically lost on. Like I said, you have to work hard to lose on a note deal, because if you buy right, you understand what it is that you're doing. It's not it's easy to make a good return. And so yeah, so that was the only one. All the other ones I've been profitable with that I've done, and I've done deals in multiple states: Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina, Baltimore, Ohio. I've been all over this southeast, southern parts of the states, Midwest.
So Bernard is asking, I'm looking to make more contacts in this space. What's a good way to do so? I'm just guessing, but I guess the best thing to do would be to set up a call with you.
Yeah, you can set up a call with me, but if you're looking to make more contacts in the space, the first thing I would do is LinkedIn. If you're not on LinkedIn, get you a profile on LinkedIn and start going into groups, investment banker groups. You go into, yep, that's me right there. You go into these just search note buyers, note sellers, and investment banker groups, and just start, networking with people in there, and just start, communicating with them. And that's where you find and make contacts. Outside of me going to note conferences, I do all my note investing in business on LinkedIn. That's why all my contacts. LinkedIn's a great place for, connecting with note investors and sellers and people, the who's who that's in the business. Even these hedge funds and these investment bankers, they're all on LinkedIn.
Outstanding. So we put a couple things there. Bernard's link is in there, and then above that, Bernard's link is in there again. And then the Academy is on there as well. And then passive cash flow for multifamily. The Academy is more for single family. And then if you have any questions on anything whatsoever, feel free to reach out to support@passivecashflowforlife.com. And we'll make sure that whatever it is, multi-single notes, we'll make sure we'll get an answer for you one way or the other, or connect you with someone. I think we got about 2 minutes left. Anybody else have any questions, thoughts, comments? Real estate in general?
Well, before then, let me just say thank you again for the opportunity to, spend some time with y'all. I really, enjoy, talking about notes, all things real estate. And so thanks, James, and and his, team for allowing me this opportunity to be for you. So I thank y'all.
Bernard, that was awesome. You're just a very good presenter, I'll tell you that much. So it's always very engaging and always fun to listen. And I learned a couple things, so that's always a positive.
Yeah, thank you. Hopefully y'all have me back. I definitely look forward to it. And like I said, I'll always try to, give you the ins and outs of the business. It's really a good strategy to, to implement. Like I said, even if you don't want to do it to my level, just to be able to, to incorporate it in what you do could be a huge benefit for you. Right?
Outstanding. And then just so you guys are aware, the third Tuesday of every month, Bernard will be talking about notes, or he'll have somebody else talking about some specific part of notes or whatever he wants to do. But the third week of the month for Passive Cash Flow for Life is going to be about notes going forward. So make sure you guys tune back in. But having said that, thank you very much, everyone. Hope you guys all have a great night. And Renard, thanks so much again for presenting. Really appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks. All right. Y'all have a good one. Talk soon. Have a good one.
Good night.
See you guys next week.
All right.
Night.